Good evening, welcome to Tonight. I'm Bruce Whitfield. Tonight we're looking at the growing taxi industry. It's not the minibus taxis that we're looking at though, it is inner city commuting. You would have seen taxis in Sandton, for example, from Gautrain, 200 meters down the road. They'll charge you New York style pricing of about $70. Then you've got Uber who come to market. You've got the tuk-tuks, the Sanderbank branded tuk-tuks. But in Cape Town is a guy called Neil du Preez. He has created something called Mellowcabs. They're a bit like a tuk-tuk, just flashier, and they're made in South Africa. When does it all start?
Yeah, very soon, Bruce.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
When did the project start?
Well, a couple of years ago, I came back from the Far East and we started reimagining and rethinking South African public transport. And then, Mellowcabs came about, and it's been 3 years now in the making of testing and redesign and re-engineering the vehicle.
But you come with a space-age tuk-tuk,
yes,
effectively.
Yes, technically it's a tuk-tuk. It's a three-wheel vehicle. It's fully electric. But yes, it's super modern. It's designed and developed in South Africa, specifically to provide urban transport services.
What's your background? Are you an engineer?
No, I come from a chemistry background.
Okay, that makes perfectly good sense.
Yes,
okay.
To a certain extent. And yes, I've dabbled in product design.
Oh, right. The Far East, if you go into places, into the Far East, tuk-tuks are ubiquitous. They're fairly new in South Africa. There have been some regulatory hurdles with them as well.
Absolutely.
Some people are a little bit nervous of them. They tend to go quite fast on public roads.
Yes, fair enough.
So how do you get around the regulations, the restrictions and our prejudices?
We went towards a type of situation where we wanted to work with the municipality and national regulations in terms of developing the vehicle. I'm fully aware of the safety regulations and the safety problems associated with tuk-tuks. And we kind of try to firstly cross the gaps with technology and obviously work in conjunction with the municipality and not kind of...
Is this a City of Cape Town project? Is this the genesis of Mellowcabs?
Well, yes, we are based in the Western Cape, so we will roll out in the Western Cape. But it's aimed at a nationwide rollout very soon.
In the world of Uber,
yes.
and Uber revolutionized the taxi industry. I pray every day for the guy who's got a metered taxi because they've got to be out of business at some point in the future.
Yes.
How do you compete?
Well, we have a similar application, it's called an on-demand application from Mellowcabs, where you can book a vehicle, pay for a vehicle, rate the service, monitor the positions of vehicles around you. So it's very much a similar type of situation of Uber, just it's going to be low cost and obviously provided by Mellowcabs, which is also zero emission and completely electric.
How much lower cost can you go though than what Uber have done?
Quite significantly. If you look at the price comparison of a Mellowcab vehicle compared to any other taxi, it's going to be at least half of what they charge.
Okay, and where does the capital for something like this come from? Because if you're doing the engineering, the building, the development in South Africa, it's not going to happen for nothing.
No, not at all. No, blood, sweat, and tears, man.
Do you keep a day job while you do this?
No, I don't. We're fully involved in Mellowcabs. Initially, my wife was very supporting, so we sold our house.
Okay, so it's one of those.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Luckily enough, now we have a South African angel fund on board that's funded our R&D and our initial launch projects. Hopefully the IDC will come on board very soon as well, and we're looking at some foreign money.
Okay, so what have you spent so far? I mean, 3 years of R&D and development and building and experimenting and pilot projects don't come for nothing.
Engineering doesn't come cheap. We're well into the 4.5 million type of rand.
Okay, so you're burning cash at the moment.
Yes.
When you bring it to market, is it a 2 months, 6 months waiting time? When do you start?
We're going to start around the Western Cape, around the waterfront, Groenpunt, Sea Point type of areas. Then moving towards the city, and then as soon as possible, Gauteng and the Gautrain stations. Every one of the Gautrain stations will hopefully have a fleet of Mellowcabs stationed around them, and some of the high-value areas in Johannesburg also, examples like Parkhurst and Rosebank will have high concentrations of Mellowcabs.
So when you look at it though, and I've chatted to the guys who operate the tuk-tuks, and if you come out of the Gautrain station in Sandton, you'll be very familiar with the taxis that take up the parking spaces outside.
Yes.
And the tuk-tuks are half a kilometre down the road, closer to the JSE, and you say to them, why don't you just go there? And they say, well, they don't dare.
Yeah, exactly.
You can have rules, you can have regulations, but then you've got protectionism, and you've got an industry under threat, which is not going to be interested in having you there. So how do you deal with that?
Yes. Well, firstly, we've been trying to work with the City of Johannesburg in crossing those huge gaps in public transport legislation. But also I think having the application provides us with a decent enough advantage above some of the other more traditional taxis. So a passenger could really book a Mellowcab, and the moment he steps off the train, a Mellowcab will be waiting for him, and he can just climb on.
That's all very nice.
Yes.
In the real world, however,
Yeah.
there's a man with a knuckle duster in his back pocket who doesn't
Exactly.
want the Mellowcab right
Yes,
there.
yes,
How are
exactly.
you going to protect the guy?
That's a good question. It really is a quick. In the longer run, we can do all we can with obviously added security features. But yeah, it's
but
gonna
you're going into an industry that is protected by rackets
exactly,
and gangs
exactly,
and owners.
yeah. But Preez, at the end of the day, it's not only South Africa; it's all across the world.
Yeah.
From New York to London to Paris, you're going to get the same type of message. Taxi unions are very mafia-like in a way, so you either have to somehow get with them or.
Or you got to get with the program.
Yes.
Hopefully, you don't get in
Yes.
with the mafia. We
Yes.
don't want that.
No.
Do you franchise this business? How,
No.
if I wanted to run a Mellowcab fleet, could I buy 10 of these vehicles
No.
from you and run my own fleet, or how would it work?
Not at the moment. In South Africa, we're going to build them and operate them ourselves. We see a lot of value down the line, especially in the transport, but not only of people, but in cargo as well. So we have a cargo Mellowcab in development. So yes, we're going to operate them ourselves. We are looking towards partners in Europe and the US.
Okay, so this is South African originated, designed and built.
Yes.
Why not just make them in China like everything else?
Why would you?
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
cheap, isn't it?
It is cheap, but I think all the ability in South Africa is here. We pay a small margin to build it in South Africa compared to China, but we have this huge tech advantage, and obviously it's a pride thing for me, I think.
Okay, what tech advantage do you have?
Well, tech advantages. There's huge facilities and fantastic engineers around the Western Cape. We have support from Stellenbosch University,
Okay.
CPUT on their design team, quite a few private industries around here. People with some real proper experience and expertise in electric vehicles and systems.
Now, people say anything. If you're going to create anything in South Africa today and you give it an purely electrical function, then
Yes.
you're either crazy or you've got a lot more faith in Eskom than the rest of us.
Well, to a certain extent, yes. But remember, we now build a really small vehicle. The whole thing only weighs 300 kilograms. So we can really plan the charging periods, and it's not a very long charging type of situation. We can fully charge the vehicle in a couple of hours.
And we've seen, I think last year in South Africa, of the 50,000 vehicles sold,
Yes.
the grand total of electric vehicles sold, so the Nissan Leaf
Yes.
and the like,
Yes.
was 11.
Exactly.
Acceptance is
Yeah.
not quite there yet
No,
of
no.
electric vehicles.
And then if you think of the pricing on something like the Nissan Leaf, it's ridiculous actually, if you think about it. So as a private vehicle owner, I wouldn't really go for something like that. But if you think about inner city type movement, and that 80% of people within cities move in a 3 to 4 kilometer radius, it makes sense to have a really small economical micro vehicle providing public transport.
And so you're developing in South Africa. What is the scale of the market in South Africa? Because you might get 5 or 6 in Bloemfontein. You'll get a bunch in Durban. You'll do plenty in inner city Cape Town, where
Yes.
there's a rich inner city life.
Absolutely.
Downtown Joburg, I'm
Yeah.
not so sure, but certainly Sandton and wealthier parts of
Yes.
Joburg, there's a
Yes.
market there as well. Do you have 150, 200 in South Africa max?
Well, if you look at just tuk-tuks in Johannesburg, there's way more than 100 already. And we feel that we have a lot more to offer than a traditional tuk-tuk. So our business plan is focused around 480 vehicles in the next 5 years in South Africa. But then, that being said, it's not only, we don't need to only provide passenger transport. We can really very easily provide cargo transport with some of our partners and deliver packages and quite a few other.
You know, you've clearly thought this one through, but you keep saying in South Africa.
Yes.
So, which is the new growth market? Do you follow?
Yes.
Follow Nando's? Do you follow SAB Miller? Where do you
We're
go?
very much interested in the European market. We've got a lot of support there. We've got a pilot project in Germany lined up. We're already working on a pilot project in London. So
One would think that these are places that have got their own solutions, though, and they
yeah,
don't.
well, they do have their own solutions to a certain extent, but if we feel that we have a proper solution as well, that we can competitively pitch to them and hopefully win a lot of hearts and minds in Europe.
How secure is your intellectual property? Because that's also a problem
Quite.
globally, isn't it?
Yes,
in terms
it
of
is, it is.
protecting what is a homegrown travel solution.
Absolutely. Well, we've got a very large intellectual property attorney group in South Africa. I might call it Adams and Adams.
They're the scariest of the lot.
Yes,
Oh, no,
yes.
they
They are
are
scary.
the bull terriers
Yes,
of,
yes.
of
And they are super
trademark.
expensive.
Well, then you'd hope they were good.
Yes, but they're helping us, and I think they really understand not only the South African sense of IP, but on a global scale, the European IP registrations and the American ones.
And Asian?
Asian, yeah, that's touch and go. We'll see how that. But inevitably, there's going to be some Chinese knockoff.
No, but that's the risk you face. So
Yes,
you've got early mover advantage. You're doing this into the space. You're doing it electrically. At least you'll be a lot quieter than a tuk-tuk.
Yes. Interesting enough, the name tuk-tuk comes from the sound that a tuk-tuk makes.
It doesn't make that sound. It's a lot louder.
Yeah, exactly.
I could emulate it, but then I might get fired.
Yes.
So you're going to start in the next couple of months. You're rolling out in Cape Town.
Yes.
Those are pilot projects that get underway. When do we expect to see the first of these vehicles in Joburg then?
In Joburg?
Yep.
Oh, that's a good question. Hopefully around June, July.
Okay, June, July, middle of winter. Can you close them off?
That's a good question. I've got a team of guys working on doors. Hopefully by July we will have doors available and all vehicles will be able to be encapsulated.
Plan B, what happens if this doesn't work?
Full-on cargo and courier services.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the plan B is if South African commuters don't take it, because we're quite slow on the uptake in terms of we like our comfort, we don't mind paying for things if we've got a bit of money. This has got to feel like it's a lifestyle accessory, doesn't it?
Well, to a certain extent, but if you really do think about it, it's a low-cost form of transport. We want to be really low-cost, convenient and efficient.
I can't wait to see how it's going to pan out.
Absolutely.
He's a crazy guy, is Neil du Preez. He's the founder and chief executive of Mellowcabs. Yellow cabs on the streets of South Africa, starting in Cape Town, will expand into other centres as well. A potential market of 480 in South Africa, with his sights set on Europe as well. This is homegrown talent, it is homegrown product, and home ingenuity and engineering as well. Can only wish them luck as they shake up the commuter transport networks of inner city South Africa. They can't come a moment too soon. Thank you for watching tonight. That's it from me for this evening. There'll be more tonight, tomorrow. Till then, bye-bye.